I will read the statement I've shared about misconduct of the judge while reporting it to Judicial Conduct Investigations Office. So the statement sounds like that. I attended the hearing on 11/12 blah 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 in Central Family Court and witnessed what I believe is the peak of corruption. The circuit judge, which I reported as being part of the fraud, clearly is the head of it. He is adding in corrupt legals and workers to provide lies for his unlawful orders. He accused me of contempt of the court. If what he does is what the court is, then any person with any moral core, any ethics, any humanism within would feel contempt for it. He accused me of contempt for a record I made of the hearing from 12 September, which I shared with police while making report about child sexual abuse again by the end of November. Child is presenting symptoms of being forced to oral sexual abuse, and as shared with police in report, the judge ignored that. I attached a link to this hearing and how the judge is abusing victims in court in my application. On 11th December, he took my phone and laptop to ensure I do not record, simply to block transparency and ensure his crimes are not addressed with solid evidence at the victim's hands. What's more, to damage the quality of audio records in the room, 30 minutes before the hearing, he instructed staff to put the heating on. I noticed it as I was sitting in the waiting area, and some lady who looked like an advocate had said, "Oh, it's very hot here today." To which I replied, "Yeah, like in hell." As for me, this building and hell are synonymous. But then I realized that when I entered the room and was there for 30 minutes, it certainly was not that hot. The courtroom 26, which is just around the corner, was even more hot, and windows were open in December. This was applied to damage quality of audio. For the same reason, this time he told me to be seated on the other side, applicant side, which is by the window. Hearing was a typical narcissistic bullying. The biggest problem for the judge was audio from 12 September recording, which he says is harassing him. For clarity, no name in the entire record is used. Audio is simply compared with practice direction 12J, which he annihilates as conducting the fraud. To my request to talk about child sexual abuse allegations on this record, he responds, "No, no, no, I'm not prepared to deal with that today." He is harassing and abusing victims in court while accusing victims of harassing him when asking him to stop child abuse. He wants to make his disgusting profits without such problems as victims asking questions like, "What is the judgment?" when there is none. The same happened on 11/12. The judge added Nias to represent the child by producing lies in reports, same as Supervisor GR, which was supervising since July only to silence the child, prevent records of evidence, and bully me. Nias, who does not have any medical credibility, as well as paid by abuser social worker, both accused me of having serious mental health problems. Against medical data shared by doctors, including NHS psychiatrist Dr. P. And as all descriptions of my interaction with child are showing that I am a secure mother. I had to address false psychotic accusations from corrupt social workers from Islington in May, June, who were also lying without any breaks, silencing child's disclosures, hiding evidence of child abuse, and their own involvement in grooming and corruption and bullying victims. Another person protecting groomers was one of GP doctors. Thought he was a secluded example of corruption in the NHS I met among doctors, which in this case seems to provide good service regardless of this one doctor. Like most of evidence that social workers were lying about, as instructed by judge, were about medical data. And the medical data, once it was accessed, like is showing all the evidence of abuse as well. The problem is that in majority of cases, foreign mothers will not be able to access that. And if they do not have any legal help, they will have no way to ask for justice, because they will not have evidence. So there is some data manipulation in assessment from psychiatrist attached, perhaps done by the same corrupt GP doctor, as I never smoked for 8 years and was never married to MD, which is groomer, and have 8, not 6 siblings. But regardless of that, assessment is clear that I am not psychotic and not clinically depressed, but rather a victim of domestic abuse. As some manipulation was in this assessment done, social workers tried to push core psychiatrists to do more work on suggesting that I made up allegations and clearly made up allegations, or rather made up the disclosures of my child. This should be stopped by second assessment done by leading Islington Core Mental Health Service psychiatrist, Dr. Matteopi, stating clearly, I do not find Ursula to be a subject to psychotic illness, and I did not have reasons to believe that Miss P contact with her daughter is causing harm to her daughter. But it was during the hearing. Agenda about my psychosis is still going on, and the judge on 11th December ignores all this medical information and orders no contact with my child for mental health capacity reasons, against medical data, while bullying with parental alienation and non-molestation order for abuser to ensure I do not have any access to child's medical records and school records, and to disable me from working as a teacher assistant as I completed the course provided by taxpayers through UC program. This was done to punish me for reports to police about child sexual abuse and to discredit them. He did not look at any evidence. He did not read police reports. He did not access records from the intervention. He forced further abuse on my child while disabling any form of protection from it, while also damaging my records and preventing work as a teaching assistant at schools, only as I acted as mother should, with serious safeguarding concerns and evidence of abuse, and as per applicable laws. He tries to force on me a psychiatrist assessment done by one of his doctors, name Freeman or Friedman, then in order he changed that to another doctor, which I am sure is corrupt, like all other people who were in the courtroom invited by this judge, and in opposition to an NHS psychiatrist who already provided a very clear statement. I refused it. I refused to this assessment. It was forcing on me this capacity assessment only to bully me further. So I just said no to it. As in my medical data, there is no evidence of any psychotic illness, and I am not and never had been a danger to children. I tried to present evidence of abuse in accordance to Practice Direction 12J. Judge made notes of evidence of sexual abuse and physical violence, psychological violence and economic abuse, and then he ignored it all, including child presenting symptoms of STI, and ordered no contact to me while forcing child to spend time only with dangerous, risking her life abuser. He used my allegations as an excuse to plot in another social worker, to produce more lies in Section 37 regardless of one being done already. It's because I accessed medical records which are proving lies in previous Section 47 and 37. That is why he now prohibited me from accessing any more records about my child from current GP and school. So I won't be able to prove that new report lies are lies. He prolongs pain and forces more abuse without any reason, besides corruption, which in this case is endless, just as there are profits from broadcast of child sexual abuse. The barrister for Nayas, who was there to really represent the abuser and not the child, had loudly laughed after the judge ordered no contact with child to me. They both were purely psychopathic. I was very clear about emotional harm that has been done by separation, that I have with my daughter very close biological bond, that I gave natural birth to her and lost 1300 milliliters of blood during it, and it took 18 hours, and then 18 months of breastfeeding to ensure that she has my closeness, and as well as every night over 2.5 years of sleep regression. For my child, my smell means safety, and her safety means safety to me. And all this sensory connection we had formed results now in pain of unjust separation. And as I love my child and care about her, this is an unbearable torture. But barrister laughs with the judge after ordering no contact. When MD decided to embrace alcoholism and sex addiction as he moved out of our home on December 2022, I was with child every night. I read loudly to judge his correspondence confirming this. I did not refuse him contact with the child until her direct disclosure about him abusing her, tickling her vagina with fingers and tongue, redness of vagina after his ghost games on bed, and after that I refused MD contact with the child and notified police. I found more evidence of abuse in child's drawings, pictures, and understood that he was abusing her since December 2022, when separating me from his time of visits. The judge ignored all above information as well as evidence, including hospital report and police reports, and ordered non-molestation not for me and my child but for the abuser, and to silence the child about abuse he produces reports filled up with lies. All that happened in this case is enough to prove that this judge is the head of criminal group operating within the family court to protect North London groomers, cooperating with groomers in social services and police, and he provides for groomers children for sexual exploitation. Besides of it, there are many other victims, and their records are available to show how clear the pattern of his corruption is, and that the same judge is also abusing children by himself. His decisions are threatening a child's life and destroying my life. First, because of unjust alienation with such safeguarding problems regarding sexual abuse. Secondly, by forcing psychiatric assessments against medical data. Thirdly, by imposing on me to non-molest MD when I did never molest him, and while he is sexually exploiting my child, and online bullying me. The last point will affect my DBS checks, why I just completed a teaching assistance course to start work at schools. Those orders have to be quashed to enable any form of normal life for my child, which is being genetically damaged as a result of those decisions, and myself simply as a mother whose child was unjustly removed only to be harmed, while imposing unjust restrictions on my working life. I do not believe that I will be able to survive this pain, or that any doctor will be able to bring justice if this won't stop now. This judge harmed too many children and non-abusive parents, wasted millions of taxpayers' funds, and protected many sexual predators who are still harming children. He should face criminal justice. Please tell me if my child and myself by miracle won't die as a result of this, as justice could be accessed this month. How should I explain to her what was forced on her through the UK justice system with this protection for child sexual abuse predators? How in the future would I tell her this judge just could do all those crimes without any accountability? Sorry. If punishment for criminals will be enabled, it will at least allow a bit better answer, showing that justice could be found. So I shared this with JCIO, and they decided to not investigate this report about misconduct and corruption of the judge and ignore it. Why keeping this man in active service, harming more children as we speak?